Good evening, traders, and welcome to day 3 of our free Discord challenge. Now, we have been crushing it in this market, and we are allowing everyone in the group to participate in this challenge here. So, according to our survey, majority of the traders made money today, and even though some of our trades are flawless, it's still evident that people will still experience a red day based on their own trades, or if they don't stick to the plan, and that's very common here. But one thing about my mentorship room is that we do service daily after every trading day, because we are a performance-based room that cares about everyone's performance. We want to make sure people in the room are making money. And with these results, I take statistics to understand where the key areas of weakness are and where the strength is. For example, if I notice that a lot of traders are missing out amazing trades, I would start to do things differently. I would incorporate other ways of making sure that everyone can enjoy the fruits of our labor. But besides that, today's focus is going to be how to find the best trade setups. Now, the trade setups room is designed to basically give notification of a stock every time it touches our inflection point. These inflection points are crucial for us because it allows us to know when the stock is moving, when it's heading into a breakout zone, and when it's in a chop neutral range. All my levels, and everyone can see this, has been provided before the market open. Many of these levels have so far become the top of the week. For example, the MSTR that we have provided was basically a good idea of where the top was I believe this is a wrong week. So we provide a lot of stocks and giving them an idea about where the top is. So for MSTR, our top was 470, but our level 1 bullish, which is our gatekeeping level, it was at 456, and that was pretty much the key level that stopped it. Coin had a hard number at level 1 as well. Nvidia literally stopped at our estimated weekly high, so we could start to go back here. Tesla had a very hard time. It rejected this level 1 bullish at least 3 times, but it started to move today at our first key inflection point, which is a gatekeeping level. Nvidia exact top is around 172.5. So these levels were given on a Sunday, and they're literally legit here because the estimated weekly high represents the gamma levels where the market anticipates where the range to be, and the inflection points is purely based off the premiums. Okay, with level 1 being a gatekeeping level here, and estimated weekly high, pretty much gamma level I already mentioned. Level 2 confirms the trend. So if Nvidia already hit this 170, the trend has been confirmed. It hit the top. It's seen a pullback all the way low at 169. And I'll show you guys that in comparison. When you go to the Nvidia chart, for example, you can see that right over here. This was the start of this week. That's what the blue line represents. You can see rejects our estimated weekly high right on the money, bounces off our level 1 bullish support, and now it looks like it's trying to retest that estimated weekly high. And this is where I'm talking about the best setups, okay? Because now as it retests this 172.5 heading into Taiwan Semiconductor earnings, this is where the breakout happens here, okay? And if it gets through this point, we already bought the 172.5 calls for Taiwan Semiconductor earnings, and I'll explain my trades that we did today. You can see those really pay here, okay? So this is examples of trade setups. When it's neutral chop range, pretty much you want to be very careful with your entries, and you want to wait for the entry to come to you. That's where our A+ setups come through. When it's in the bearish breakdown zone, that's when it starts to move fast. And depending on what time it is, it's very interesting to do that. Now, going over the trades that we have taken today. So very, very solid day here. We started our day off by trying to take this Meta 720 call at 2.83. It would have actually worked if I held it longer, but I decided to get out of it because I wasn't so confident about Meta. Just the premiums look pretty dull to me, and I pretty much decided to get out to focus on other plays. But what Meta did here is that it actually fell lower, and there's no real news or anything going on for this stock here, so the downside was definitely better. But it pretty much tried to hold my level 1, but it dipped to my level 2 bearish here. But we got out for a very small loss, only a couple $100, which is meaningless. But now its trend has been confirmed to the downside. So come Friday or Thursday, if it really breaks this level again, watch a breakdown for this. I would rather see this go to around 710. And if I want to get a short, if I want to short a company, I know Meta would be a great candidate to short, unless if news comes. But Meta is going to be one of my short radars if the market does show signs of weakness. That we're going to keep an eye on that. So we decided to get out of that for a minor loss, which is no big deal. The next play that we got was the SPX 6215 puts. Now this is where things start to get very interesting, okay? Because this trade was actually one that took a little bit of time to work out. Now, the reason why we decided to get that 6215 was going in our war room report here. I pretty much gave the market structure and explanation here. So we pretty much said that the call gamma, had a reach of 6,300, but the bullish gamma was at 6,260. Okay, that's where SPX has a momentum and the bias is to the upside. The put gamma was at 6189. Sorry, the put gamma was supposed to be at 6220 is what I meant. Sorry, this was supposed to be 6180. There's a little typo there. But anyways, regardless, so our bearish gamma was at 6220 and our bullish gamma was at 6260. In our prediction, I mentioned that based on the type of distribution we were dealing with, I expect a lot of choppiness, which was very correct. The market was insanely chopped today, and I said no real edge to any side. Both sides would be playable. I also gave a trading range of 6220, so 6260. Now going back to my trade where I took this 6215 and I called it a D plus trade because I didn't care about the price I got it into. I just wanted to be in and not miss out, because sometimes, when volatility kicks in and if you miss out, you may not get into the trade here. So this trade did go negative a lot of times, and that's why it's a D plus trade. Doesn't mean it's a bad trade, but it's one that is not precisely designed to wait for the perfect entry. Now going into our SPX chart that you see right over here, we basically got into that put in the morning, and that's when SPX was pretty much stuck in our chop range all day. Okay, so if you guys go over here, pretty much, and we go on a 5-minute chart actually, so it's easier to see. So on a 5-minute chart here, we've been chopping in this neutral range all day with quick little wicks here. Okay, so in the morning, what I had realized is that we stayed below this 6220 zone, sorry, 6260 zone. So because I anticipated that the 6260 would be my top range for that time, I decided to get puts, and I actually told everyone on Twitter that I believe that we're going to see 6220. And if we go to my Twitter page right over here, you can see that it's timestamped where I actually said the market is going to 6220 here. Okay, so right over there at around 10:02 a.m., and that was when SPX was around 6240 chilling in our neutral range, I said that the market's going to go to 6220 simply because that's what my gamma report had suggested. And we later got that massive dump right over here, and a lot of people attribute that dump towards potentially Trump trying to fire Powell, which is bad news in some way, shape, or form, kicking out a Fed chair, because it leads to more uncertainty about who's going to take over. But pretty much the market was already destined to go here, right? So it bounced off this point temporarily and then hit our first inflection point, and we banked off those puts. Now, the thing is, I didn't get full premium out of there. I was actually having issues with my computer. It was lagging, so I had to sell those, but I took around 40% profit off that particular trade here, okay? Because it wasn't the best fill, and I wanted to make sure I got out, but it went to around 16 bucks, and that was a nice little, sorry, I sold at 30%, but it was a nice little win there. So that was a first win of the day, and I actually had over 10 contracts, so close to 3,400 bucks on that particular trade. Okay, the next trade we did is we did an A+ trade here. Now this is a pre-announced play where I said placed an order to buy SPX 6180 put at 1.5. Now going into this particular trade here in the room, I also gave I said SPY 615 can work. I said that wait for SPX to go back to 6220. Okay, at that moment SPX was pretty much at the bottom here, and it did pop to 6220. Okay, so once it hit that 6220 here, we got the fill on the 6180s, and literally a lot of people got the fill as well. So it wasn't like we pre-announced this. So it was literally the bottom of the premium here. We gave that 1141, and it filled at 1151. So this is our definition of our A+ setup. It got the fill and gave us a fast 60% return. So that was, and it was meant to be a scalp too. So we didn't say we were going to hold it. It was going to be a scalp. So that was one of your top setups. We got the fill at 1151, and literally 2 minutes later, we got 60% on that particular trade, and no one could possibly miss out because it was pre-announced. Sometimes people may not get the fill because if it's if it hits that price, there might be multiple orders, and a lot of people may not get the fill because of that reason. But everyone got that fill, and I'm glad that we did. So that was a solid setup. So 2 out of 2 at that point for SPX. We then later decided to buy a 6280 called Lotto. I said expect 0. This one went to shit, but we kept it small, which was under $1,000 on that play, but it was all profits. Okay, now here's an interesting trade that I want to go back to on the setups here. Okay, so Nvidia 172.5 calls we took because of Taiwan Semiconductor earnings, and it was also potentially on the way to my bullish breakout zone. So we already talked about that earlier. We had AMD calls from yesterday, which was also our A+ setup. This thing was moving, but a reason why I sold that was because I wanted to buy other trades like ARM. So I didn't want to get too much of the same thing. But this thing later ripped. This AMD play literally went bananas. I didn't do numbers on it this week, so it was hard to say. But it went to 160, and that went to $3. So that was like a 300% play if I held it a little bit longer. But it is what it is. We got these ARM 155 calls. Okay, now ARM. The reason why we got it, I talked about it as well, and this is where the education component comes in the room as well, where I said, okay guys, it's in the breakout zone, and this is a trade setup that you really want to pay attention to, where it's going to explode at that particular moment. 152 is where it's at. So if we go back to ARM here on the live scale, you can see here that in the bullish breakout zone, it started to move here. So this is where quick profits are made. And I was considering taking Broadcom, but the problem with Broadcom here is that Broadcom was pretty much still in our chop range, is not ready to 282 yet. So ARM was definitely a better moving play that was moving, and literally it went to 54%. And if people didn't want to take profits, right, they had to know that it was going to be a swing. So as long as the trade hits the standard minimum in the room, then we are good to go. The trade is qualified as a fantastic play here, and a lot of people in the room are making money today. So that's all we got today. We hope you guys enjoyed this mentorship call. As you guys can see, all my levels are on point. We know exactly when to get in and get out. We know the points of reference, so we're watching that as well. We see that PLTR is still in our bullish breakout zone, so we're still holding that swing as well. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this post-market recap. See you guys in the next one, and like always, let's get that money.